Welcome back to the Nationals at the Bend. The lunk break is very much over and we're getting back underway with racing. The first car race of the weekend, it's Formula V. I'm going to vacate the commentary box and leave you in the very capable hands of our Formula V commentators, and it's a very warm welcome to the first time here in South Australia to Steve DeFries. Steve, great to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me, and it's great to come to a new circuit that I've never been to in my short career as a Formula V commentator, but it's great to have 43 Formula Vs coming out of the pits right now, heading down into turn number 1 and around this 18-turn circuit. Mark Nancaro jumping in opposite me for this one. Mark, let's have a look at the grid here because it's the two four-time champions of the National Challenge that are on the front row together.
Welcome aboard, Steve. Here we go. Heat 1 Formula V here at their Nationals. Here's the grid. On pole position, well, was Dan Reynolds all the way from Canberra here this weekend. Michael Kinsella alongside him, a couple of formidable contestants there with lots of trophies between those two. Then we go back to Andre Cure and Alex McDonald. Then back to Simon Pace. Curtis Porter. There's a lot of familiar names at Nationals that I've called many times before. Let's go back to Alex Henderman and Aaron Pace back there in 8th position on the grid, car number 15. Huge grid, 40-odd cars here. Heath Colson back. Good to see him back again after his short retirement. Then we go back to Corey Ogden, Alex Beswick, Beswick, I should say, there in car 13 of Ash Clifford. Ben Forgan, the first of the South Aussies there in car number 40. Then we go back to Jason Fowler. Nathan Keelan, another South Australian there. And then we go to the Western Australian there, Rod Lisson in car 37. A lot of Western Australians certainly involved here in this field.
Certainly are. Matt Harriott there starting out of 17th. Xavier Babbage Hockey right next door to him. Next to the Victorians is a All Victorian 10th row there with Darren Power and Matt Bode in 19th and 20th. Cameron Bell from Victoria right behind them as well. And Christopher Behan from Queensland. Mark Moran, the Queensland Club President, out of 23rd. And Troy Fursenko in 24th.
24th position, that's one of the South Australian contestants there. We go back to Adam Beswick, car 19, then Reece Roller, the young teenage driver for South Australia, car number 1. Then we go back to Grant Kelly. Alongside of him is Ken Ray. Michael Lloyd comes back to South Australia after spending some time in Western Australia for some time. Then we go back to Rob Vile. We've got Egg Mafoe and John Rick Stein there back in car number 2, position 32 on the grid. There's more. There's a lot of them here. Then we go back to Kathy Lisson from Western Australia. Peter Butler and Adam Henderson back there in car number 43.
Yep. And then I think it's the first of the 1,200 cars behind him, which is actually, there's a little bit of a gap there. It's actually pushed down Stephen Butcher into 38th on the grid. That means they're giving a little bit of a start there between the 1,200 cars at the back and the 1,600 cars in front of them. And you can see there the different colour car numbers denoting the 1,200 class cars with Stephen Butcher, Matthew Pearce and Matthew Bielek from South Australia there, the top 3 in the 1,200s. And then the remainder of the 1,200s, Baxter Midwinter, Hugh East, Frank Chessel, Julian Midwinter and Richard Gray, who was the story of qualifying. He left a bit of oil down on the track at turn 17 and 18, and then coming out of there, it copped off about 8 cars, slipped on that oil, went through the gravel trap, and there was a red flag, and it meant that the odd-numbered cars had a punctuated qualifying session, which was shortened to around 7 minutes, and that meant that the even-numbered cars got the full 20-minute session in, as opposed to their the first lot that went out at the beginning of the day's proceedings. So a couple of drivers felt that they probably could have done a little bit better in qualifying, but that's all over and done with now. They've got to deal with what they've got to deal with, and they're lining up here on the starting grid to take the start for race number 1 of Formula V.
Camera shot looking straight down the long main straight here at FVAA Motorsport Park at the staggered grid. White car there on the inside of Daniel Reynolds, Michael Kinsella and the 35 on the outside. Just waiting for a couple of the 1,200 class cars at the back of the field waiting for the green flag. Only a small select group of the 1,200 class here for these Nationals.
Yeah, total of 8 1,200 class cars this weekend versus the 1,600s. Just trying to work out, I think there was who that was just in the middle of the shot there, trying to work out where they belonged on the grid. Just waiting for the green flag at the back now, and we will be underway for heat race number 1. A little bit of a different format this weekend. It's the 3 heat races and then the final. There's normally a little bit of a heat A versus B, C versus D scenario, but not this time around. And we have a green flag at the back. Yes, we do. Look at them all stretching all the way back to the final corner, these 43 Formula Vs. But let's get this show on the road here at Shell V-Power Motorsport Park.
Ready to let them go here. plenty of noise from Darton Lee there trying that track position. Well, Ben Forgan, the red car behind, is ducking behind pretty sharply there also. Come over the little crest as they head down to the braking marker down there at turn 1. Kinsella around the outside. Reynolds on the inner. Let's have a look. Reynolds won the first battle to turn 1.
Simon Pace getting up the inside there of Andre Curran at the beginning of proceedings here. Pretty straightforward thing to do with such a long front straight. Big long drag from the grid position there. Looks like Alex McDonald's also managed to get down the inside of the number 32 at turn number 3. And they head up the rise now towards the very, very fast turn 5. Oh, a little bit of contact and some cars off at the first couple of corners. That's the
Andrew Henderson, I think. Well, the Henderson car is one of them.
Yep, and the other one
Kathy
is
Lisson.
That is Kathy Lisson there on the left side of the shot. The number 11, the Light-Tech Systems car out of South Australia, so out of WA, and the 97 of Adam Henderson. You called the other one there in the Sabre 01.
So we'll see if we can get those cars out of the way. Here's up the front, Kinsella in front of Dan Reynolds there. Gee, how good was Pace off the Simon Pacer off the start too?
Yeah, he was excellent out of the start
and then there goes safety car. So full course yellow has been called here, as we probably would have thought so. Well, we've got a couple of cars well and truly off the track there, or just off the track down the sand trap, right down there on the northern section at the moment. So early safety car here for Heat 1 here for Formula V Nationals.
Not sure if these guys actually realise that the safety cars come out. It sounds like they're still going quite heavily at it at the moment, and now that's the universal signal, isn't it, right there with the hand going up to acknowledge that they've seen the flags. Here's a replay of what happened down here at turn 1, 2 and 3 on the opening lap. So good strong start from the front two pair. They got away well. Simon Pace with an excellent move from the third row of the grid. Got Andre Curran pretty early. And watch Alex McDonald here in the 51. He gets down the inside, and I think Curtis Porter tried to follow him. It was all the way back in the shot here where it was Kathy Lisson and Henderson getting together right about now. There it is, there.
Just a bit of wheel riding going on there.
And there was some avoiding action taking place there as well. I think it might have been, Frank Chessel, that avoided the contact there and went right around the two of them as they were careening off the road.
You see, it looked like Frank there in the Elfin Crusader there in the 1200 class trying to avoid all the action there. Wow, we've got to have a quick big start here. And then we'll try. Recoveries are usually fairly quick here, so we shouldn't be too long. They're fairly close. There's actually a recovery vehicle just beyond that gate there where they are situated at the moment, so it shouldn't take them too long to get these sorted out. So this is how they look at the moment. Still Kinsella, Reynolds, Simon Pace, Curtis Porter, Alex McDonald, Andre Curlin, and Aaron Pace. Top 7 as they make their way through. And then it's Henneman back there in position 8. And rounding out the last 2 of the top 10, we've got Ogden and Andrew Besick there rounding out the top 10.
Keeping an eye on who's actually moved up and down throughout the course of the opening lap. It was a short lap, but just looking there, I think there was Troy Fusenko's come up a couple of spots. Grant Kelly was up 3. There was also the West Australian there, Jason Fowler. He's moved up 3 spots, so he's now up to 11th place on the running order. He's just taken delivery of that brand new Sabre 02 this weekend as well, courtesy of Sabre Racing Cars. In fact, it's an 02B for its technical term. So that's the bright blue giant Mandurah car. Just back there, just next door to the timing tree there, you can see him just weaving around behind the car there as they're all trying to do that to keep the temperature in those Dunlop CR82s. Heading up towards turn 6 here, we believe, while we're waiting for that recovery to be completed.
Michael Kinsella showing them around. Gee, looking for another Nationals berth here. He's already collected a few of them.
Yeah, he's got 4 of them to his name. So too the gentleman behind him, Daniel Reynolds, he's got 4 of them as well. In fact, when you look at all the last couple of series for them, Reynolds won it last time out in Western Australia, carco.com.au Raceway. He was the victor, but Kinsella won the 2 before that. So he won the one at Baskerville and then Winton back in 22. So it's been shared between these two for the last couple of seasons. But hopefully for our sake, there's a couple of fast drivers behind, the likes of Simon and Aaron Pace, Curtis Porter, Alex McDonald. They're starting to throw down the gauntlet this year in a couple of the national series. So have they got anything in store for the 2 stalwarts of the national challenge over the last sort of decade or so?
We're about to find out. Such a professional outfit there, Michael Kinsella unit. We've seen it many times here before. Last time we ran our nationals here in SA was back in 2017. In fact, it wasn't at this course. It was at Mallala Motorsport Park. So it was actually just before this venue opened, just a few months beforehand.
Yeah, he was the victor on that occasion as well, Michael Kinsella, way back in the day. That was still when Dylan Thomas was still running around back in the day as well.
Yeah, it is quite a while
Quite
ago
a long time ago.
Dylan Thomas certainly has made his way forward in a few other categories since then.
Yeah, Legend Cars, TA2, and a couple of others along the way as well. But no, definitely still see him hanging around the Formula V paddock sometimes here and there, whenever we get a chance to see. There's Ash Clifford on screen there, the number 17 from Victoria for the Star Res entry. So he was one of the victims that tested the backs of those curbs, the big sausages that sit behind there, especially at turn 13. He found it in the hard way in practice yesterday, fired off the road and was able to surf out through the gravel. But they're one of those things you do not touch here at the Shell V-Power Motorsport Park. Is you don't go beyond the limits of that first row of curbs. You find out pretty quickly that they are quite vicious if you do.
Not very well suited to these little race cars, that's for sure.
Certainly not.
So the lights are out on the safety car here. So there's a 35 there, Michael Kinsella from Dan Reynolds.
Looks
bring him down between turns 17 and 18.
Looks like he's going fairly early here, Mark. He's already trying to put the power down. The safety car's already well and truly escaped, but Reynolds is having none of it. He's right in the wheel tracks of the 35.
He said he wanted to set the pace there, Kinsella. So it's going to be catch me if you can. See if we can get a clean lap in here. Look at the front pair already. The gap that they've got between them and Simon Pace. So they mean business, and now two abreast they go. Got Reynolds on the inside with the better track position, and that'll get himself up into the lead. Down into turn one on the restart. Look at that for that 50 car behind there, Simon Pace. He also got a very clean start. So trying to stay intact with the dominant pair at this early stage of this race.
Yeah, Simon Pace was having a bit of a look at that steering rack in between qualifying and the racing as well. He just said it was just a little bit loose. There was maybe a little bit of something moving around in there, but he's definitely sorted that out by the looks of things in between qualifying and race trim. He's right in the wheel tracks there of Daniel Reynolds. And also see that Curtis Porter looks like he managed to jump Alex McDonald before that safety car came out, because coming out of turn 3 at the beginning of the race, it was the other way around. McDonald had managed to jump ahead of Andre Curran, and then Porter hadn't yet found his way through, but he's now right with this leading group of 4 cars. They've got quite a healthy margin here back to Alex McDonald, who's running on his own, and then Curran in 6th place, and behind that it's Aaron Pace and then Henderman in the 41.
Now all of a sudden the couple of pairs becomes 4, and here they are on the Blend Line TV coverage at the moment. So it is Dan Reynolds, probably obviously these front two pretty much favoured to take out the title. They certainly got off their program on a pretty good start. Pace under pressure too. Got Porter behind him in the all black machine.
Yeah, the man out
just gets his nose just under. That's a good passing opportunity if you get yourself on the inside there at 14.
Yeah, he's just getting a bit close to the rear end there. I think he might have had a bit of a look at a lunge there at turn 14, but thought better of it. It's a little bit longer to go. Probably the preferred option, I think, for him will be down the front straight here into turn number 1, because this group has all closed up. The difficult part here, Mark, is going to be that it's basically like a little bit of a choo-choo train. We've got all the draft being put in behind Daniel Reynolds at the moment, so they're all going to get a little bit of an advantage behind each other, but then when you get that double toe or that triple toe in effect, you really get a really powerful slingshot. And Alex McDonald's had a good last couple of corners there. He's actually within a reasonable range here of his fellow Queenslander, Curtis Porter. He'll get dragged along here up to turn number 1. He might not have enough to actually make a pass, but he might get just that little bit closer, just to be a bit of an annoyance over the last couple of laps.
Change of lead there too. So opposite sides of the track this time around.
And Porter through on Simon Pace at turn number 1. So that's exactly what we suspected might happen. He thought about the long game, because that's what it is in national challenge terms. You've got to think about the long aspect. You can't go all guns blazing at every race. It's all about collecting those points, putting yourself in a position that those points then set the grid for the final race of the weekend on Sunday afternoon. So no point trying to pull any silly moves this early, but they do want to race hard and they want to race fair. They want to keep banking those points as much as they possibly can. Oh dear, the 27, that's one of the cars out of Queensland. That's Adam Beswick, and he is very, very immobile. Look at that. Look at the left rear wheel there. Looks like there might have been some contact. Yeah, that's a turn 1.
I was just about to say that there, Steve. It looks like there's been some contact somewhere, and that'll bring a safety car out. You can't park there.
No, you certainly can't.
That's right on the run-off there at turn 1, so it's a very dangerous position.
I think this will actually finish the race under yellow, to be honest with you. We're very close to the end of the allotted time for this race, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this time around it might be a conclusion to the race. But Porter has now jumped Simon Pace. He's going to try and catch up to the back of these two quick cars at the front here, the Jacer of Michael Kinsella and the checkmate of Daniel Reynolds. There is the yellow flag, so that's officially a yellow flag situation here on the circuit, and all the cars will now slow down. They've all acknowledged the flag marshals at the side of the circuit. Well, in some cases it's the marshals, in some cases it's the electronic panels that are around here at Shell V-Power Motorsport Park. But that puts another halt on proceedings, and good to see that the driver there, number 27, Adam Beswick, able to get over the fence at turn number 1 and walk away. He's okay. Cars can be repaired and people can't be replaced.
Must be going well because there's a big wall down there. That's a big jump over that concrete wall.
Well, you've got to be a bit of an athlete to get into some of these cars, don't you?
It's a big jump.
So let's see what happens this time around. Are they actually going to show the checkered flag, or are we going to have are we going to have it behind a safety car? Nope, safety cars come out onto the circuit. So
yeah, we'll finish under safety car.
And we'll finish under safety car.
Well, you can see the way that wheel's looking on that car there. That's some serious contact with someone.
Yeah, it's sitting very low in that bottom left-hand corner of the car. Most of the rear end of the car looks okay. It's just that rear left corner that doesn't look too good at the moment there on the number 27 machine. The father and son from Queensland, well, one of them is out, and the other one's still circulating.
You can't see anybody else with any damage at the moment, so whatever the contact was, or maybe it's had a suspension failure, I'm not too sure, but we'll have to wait and see. No doubt you'll find out a little bit later on, Steve. But
he's the only one that's falling down the order at the moment, as you rightly pointed out, in terms of the timing. So we'll wait and see whether or not it is just a failure of some nature. And it's very possible that it is too. You know, we're assuming, I guess, that it's a contact scenario, but it may very well not be a contact scenario. There have been a couple of drivers that have had a couple of failures across the weekend so far. That number 32 there of Andre Curran, they actually broke a stub axle on the left front yesterday during practice, and that sort of cut their practice running short. But he wasn't the only one. There was a gearbox trouble in the Pace garage as well. The number 50, I think it was. So the other car, the 22 of Simon Pace was in all sorts of trouble yesterday afternoon. So a few cars needing to attention over the time off between Friday and Saturday. But they're all back out there, which was great to see with qualifying this morning. And now just waiting to see what has happened. It looks like, yes, it's possibly maybe even a single car accident. So you might be right there that could just be a failure, because there's no other cars that have really dropped to the back of the grid. It's actually good to see Kathy Lisson. Looks like she's actually managed to get going after that contact situation at turn 1, 2 and 3 on the first lap. And it's just the number 97 there of Adam Hedison that's come into the lane. And the only official retiree at this point, and we will be counting the number 27 of Adam Beswick in the next few minutes or so, I would say.
So just waiting around for the safety car to complete the lap, because that will be the race. That's what we're looking at the moment. And this will be the order they will finish in. Coming down the back of the circuit now, so we won't be too far away. And so there will be Kinsella from Reynolds, Porter there, the top three. Getting up behind our Hyundai safety car there. And in fact, they're just coming inside the main complex there. That's turn 14 in what we refer to as the stadium section here at Shell V-Power Motorsport Park.
Yeah, coming down the hill here. It's a bit of a tricky sequence of corners, I think, isn't it? Because you come around that double right hand or that double left-hander, and then you've immediately got to go right, and you're sort of tempted to take a little bit more speed than you otherwise would. It's a very tricky sequence of corners to get right. And these cars, they've already sort of pushing the limits in terms of, some of these blind exits. They're sitting so low in the vehicle that the blind exits through some of these crests and some of these corners, you can't sort of see your exit until you're on top of it. So it's been a challenge for a lot of drivers that haven't been here before, that are here for the very, very first time.
Especially the turn before that, turn 13, completely blind. You come over the crest and you can't see it until you're virtually right on top of it.
Yeah, something similar to this last corner here as well. You go uphill and it comes up a little bit quicker. It's not got that same sort of incline as 13, but it's a very much a blind exit. That is a checkered flag on this session, so Michael Kinsella will be awarded the victory here in the opening race for Formula V for the National Challenge 2025 ahead of Daniel Reynolds and Curtis Porter. Simon Pace finishing in 4th, ahead of Alex McDonald. Andre Curran slipping back to 6th place after starting P3. Corey Ogden up to 7th after starting P10, so that's a good drive from him. And then the number 41 there of Alex Henderson in position number 8. Aaron Pace in 9th, and then Heath Collinson in the Factory Sabre 02 starting in, actually finishing there in 10th place as they're rounding up the number 27 there on the flat tow vehicle. Good to have the crews out here. The officials have had several weeks of consistent action here at Shell V-Power Motorsport Park, and they're very, very tired, and we do want to say a big thank you to them for all their efforts over the last 4 to 5 weeks. And we definitely cannot go racing without you, but you're out there putting in the effort, so we can go racing, and we definitely want to acknowledge that.
It's been a very busy period of racing out at this venue over the last few weeks. And there's our official results there. Michael Kinsella, Daniel Reynolds, Curtis Porter, Simon Pace, Alex McDonald, Andre Curran, Corey Ogden, Alex Henderman, Aaron Pace, and Heath Collison rounding out the top 10, as you did mention there earlier, Steve. And that's on our official Blendline TV screen at this very moment. And we go down a bit further, and there's Alex Beswick, Jason Fowler, Ash Clifford, Ben Forgan, the first of the South Aussies there, and then Rod Lisson. Then we go back to Matt Bode and Matt Harriott, Xavier Babbage Hockey, Nathan Clifton and Darren Power rounding out the top 20.
And that's only half the field when you think about it. It's a big field this weekend. Cameron Bell in 21st ahead of Grant Kelly, so Grant made his way forward 1 or 2 spots ahead of Troy Fosenko, Christopher Behan and Edward McFall. Mark Moran, Michael Lloyd, who we saw there on a couple of occasions, he finished in 27th, and you referred to him. Matthew Pearce is the first of the under 1200 CC cars, so that's a bit of a surprise. I was looking to see where Stephen Butcher was in all of this. He's actually going to be classified as 31st overall, so he's on the next page behind Rob Vile and Reece Rowland. There he is, Stephen Butcher, who's won the 1200s multiple times, just ahead of Kenneth Ray, and Matt Bielek in 33rd there. He's 3rd overall in the 1200 class. Richard Gray, who started from the rear, he started in 43rd place. He made his way up to 34th with all of that, so reasonable drive considering the oil scenario this morning. And then Baxter Midwinter, Peter Butler, Frank Chessel, Hugh East, John Reichstein and Kathy Lisson, who looks like she managed to get going again after that contact at the first couple of corners. Adam Beswick, Adam Henderson and Julian Midwinter, the 2 of them retirees and 1 a non-starter. That'll be a curious one that we'll have to figure out in the next bit of time between now and the next race at 2:30 this afternoon.
And there's a wrap there as our Spectre is up there at the Sky Deck, up there at level 4, having a pretty good look. It's very windy. You can see the flags up there at the moment. It's very strong southwesterly, virtually blowing the cars down the main straightaway here.
It's very much picked up in the last sort of half an hour, hasn't it? It's become quite blustery.
Quite cool too. We did have a few spots of rain a little bit earlier on, but that's the wrap there for, well, probably not the way we wanted to finish Heat 1 there for Formula V. That's the way it is at the moment. Those cars come back into pit lane. Thanks, Steve, and we'll come back with Formula V a little bit later on this afternoon. And we'll now have a short break, and we'll be back with Heat 1 of our Saloon Car Nationals coming up in a few moments. Stick around. This is another very similar size field, and there's a lot going on, so we'll be back in a few short moments.